I entered the swamp with 10 men, 7 dogs, and bells ringing behind me in pursuit. They believed their numbers would guarantee my capture within hours, because I was alone and unarmed, while they carried guns and tracking dogs bred to hunt human scent. I left obvious footprints and broken branches to draw them deeper into waterlogged ground where their boots broke through, and their dogs began to hesitate at standing water that confused the trail. Within 2 hours, their confident laughter turned to arguments about direction, and I heard fear creeping into commands that were meant to sound strong. I learned from my father that land chooses those who listen to it, and I had spent months learning this swamp, while they entered it blind, trusting their certainty more than the terrain that was destroying their advantage with every step. I stopped running and began choosing ground, deliberately circling back through water to blur scent, moving only when their shouting masked my steps, pressing my body into cypress roots while they searched past me looking for someone who was fleeing when I had already stopped fleeing and started navigating. This testimony belongs to the Chronicles of Kofiya living archive of truths that were never meant to survive. If you will stand as witness to what happens when knowledge defeats force and patience defeats numbers, mark this testimony so it endures. Signal that you recognize how land favors those who respect it. Speak below about the difference between hunting and understanding. By nightfall, they were calling each other's names instead of mine, and their dogs were whining instead of baying, and I moved past. Their huddled group in darkness they feared, while I used it as protection. The hunt ended without a body and without their victory because I survived, not through speed, but through becoming what the swamp needed: patient, quiet, present, and willing to listen. So I ask you now, when those who pursue you enter terrain they do not understand, who holds the true power, the ones with weapons and numbers, or the one who knows the land well enough to let it choose sides? I enter the swamp with mud already climbing my calves and sound dying behind me like something being strangled. The transition is immediate. One moment I am running through open woodland where my footfalls echo and branches snap clearly. The next moment I am wading into wetlands where sound is absorbed by water and moss and thick air. The mud is black, dense. It pulls at my legs with each step, making movement slow and deliberate. I observe how the trees close ranks ahead of me. Cypresses standing in water with roots like twisted fingers reaching up through the surface. I observe how the air thickens my breath, humid and heavy with the smell of decay and living things rotting and growing simultaneously. The bells of the dogs ring too clearly behind me, too confidently. I can hear 'em. Metal bells tied to collars so the handlers can track the dogs even when they disappear into brush. The sound is bright, sharp, certain. The dogs are confident. The handlers are confident. They believe this swamp will slow me more than it slows them. They believe their numbers and their dogs and their knowledge of hunting will guarantee my capture. I move deeper into the swamp, letting my trail remain obvious for now. I step heavily. I break branches. I leave clear footprints in mud. I want them to follow. I want them confident. I want them committed to entering this place where their advantages become disadvantages. The white man thinks the hunt belongs to the hunter. He is wrong. The hunt belongs to the land, and this land knows me better than it knows them. The hunt begins with bells ringing and men shouting and dogs baying with excitement. I hear 10 voices behind me, not spread out, but clustered together, trusting one man's command. The voices are close together, moving as a group, following their leader, who is probably following the dogs who are following my scent. I notice how their boots break branches without care, announcing their position with every step. They are not trying to be quiet. They do not think they need to be quiet. They think speed and numbers will win this hunt. They think I am prey that will tire and make mistakes and be caught within hours. The noise triggers no memory, yet only calculation. I am not remembering childhood or my village or lessons from elders. Not yet. I am simply calculating, observing, planning. I angle left toward waterlogged ground, where I know the footing will be worse, drawing them forward into terrain that will exhaust them. The ground here is not solid. It is a mix of mud and water and decomposing vegetation. It looks like ground. It feels like ground for the first step. Then it gives way. Then you are knee-deep in muck that releases you reluctantly. I know this because I have been here before. I was brought to this plantation 6 months ago. I have explored these wetlands during the brief moments of rest on Sundays. I have learned which areas are possible and which are traps. They do not know this. They are following blindly, trusting their dogs, trusting their certainty. The dogs reach the edge of standing water within 20 minutes and hesitate for the first time. I hear the change in their baying. It becomes uncertain, questioning. They have reached water that is too deep to wade through comfortably. They are trained to track on land. Water confuses scent. Water makes tracking difficult. I observe the handlers, forcing them onward with shouts and curses. "Get in there! Don't stop now!" We got him running scared. They are unwilling to accept that the dog's hesitation means something. Unwilling to respect that the dogs understand danger. The men do not yet see. The smell of rot brings a faint echo of riverbanks long ago in my memory, but I push it aside. Something stirs. A memory of water and hunting and my father teaching me something. But I do not have time for memory now. I need focus, attention, presence. I wade deeper into standing water, slowing on purpose. The water is waist deep here, cold. The bottom is soft. My feet sink into organic muck with each step. Movement is slow, difficult, exhausting. But I move slowly on purpose. I am creating distance while making them think they are closing it. I am drawing them deeper into conditions that will defeat them. My hand finds the bronze weight in my pocket. It is still there, heavy, solid, waterproof. A small piece of my uncle's workshop that has survived everything with me. A reminder that I carry knowledge they do not possess, skills they cannot imagine. I hear laughter behind me after 30 minutes' confidence, mistaken for victory. They think they have me. They think I am trapped. They think the water'll slow me to the point where they can close the distance and surround me. Their laughter is cruel, excited, the laughter of men who think they are about to win something. I study how they believe numbers defeat silence, how quantity defeats quality, how force defeats knowledge. 10 men, 10 dogs, guns, ropes, authority, law, all the advantages power can provide, against one man, unarmed, enslaved, alone. They believe the outcome is certain. They believe their advantages are absolute. The sound awakens a warning. My uncle once spoke, half remembered now. Numbers give confidence. Confidence breeds carelessness. Carelessness. He was talking about craft work, about how apprentices in groups would become reckless, trusting others to notice mistakes, about how the best work came from solitary focus. But the principle applies here. Their numbers make them careless, making them loud, make them certain when they should be cautious. I leave a clear footprint in mud at the edge of a cypress root, then vanish sideways into deeper water. I make the footprint obvious, deep, clear, pointing forward as if I continued in that direction. Then I step sideways into water deep enough that my movement leaves no visible trail. I circle around a massive cypress. I move perpendicular to my apparent direction. The dogs will follow the footprint. The men will follow the dogs. And I will be elsewhere. The swamp darkens as the sun climbs uselessly above the canopy, unable to penetrate the thick covering of moss and leaves. Light exists above, but below, in the swamp itself, everything remains dim, green-tinted, shadowed. I observe how straight paths disappear here, how what looks like solid ground reveals itself as floating vegetation, how distance becomes impossible to judge. This is not woodland where you can see clearly for 50 yards. This is maze. Every direction looks the same. Every cypress looks like the last one. Every pool of water could be 3 feet deep, or 10. My breath steadies as fear sharpens into focus instead of scattering into panic. I am afraid. I would be foolish not to be afraid. But the fear's not paralyzing. It is clarifying. It makes me alert, careful, precise. In my land, this meant proper relationship with danger. Fear that scatters thought is useless. Fear that sharpens thought is valuable. The difference is whether you let fear control you or use fear to enhance awareness. I stopped running. and begin choosing ground deliberately. Running wastes energy. Running creates noise. Running leads to mistakes. I am not running anymore. I am navigating, selecting each step, moving with purpose toward terrain I have chosen rather than fleeing randomly. This is when the hunt changes, when I stop being prey that flees and become something else, something that uses the land as weapon. A snapped branch behind me tells me they are following exactly as I expected them to follow. The sound is clear. Close! They are following my false trail, following the footprint, following the obvious path. I remember nothing clearly, yet only instinct pressing against thought, guiding me without language. Something in me knows what to do. Something older than the years I have been enslaved. Something that survived the Middle Passage, and the markets, and the fields. Something that connects me to hunters in my village who taught me without words how to move through difficult terrain. I circle back through water to blur scent, moving through the same area I passed through minutes ago. This confuses tracking dogs. They smell my scent going forward, then they smell my scent going backward. Then the scents overlap and spiral and become impossible to follow clearly. The dogs bark louder now, their sound changing from confident to confused. I hear the shift. The certainty is gone from their baying. They are no longer announcing success. They are expressing frustration. And frustrated dogs make mistakes, pull in wrong directions, fight with each other, exhaust the handlers who have to manage them. I crouch behind a fallen cypress and listen instead of moving, forcing myself to be still. Stillness is difficult. Every instinct says move, run, create distance. But movement creates sound. Sound reveals position. Position invites capture. I observe separation beginning among the men through their voices. The voices are not clustered anymore. They are spread out. Some to the left, some to the right, some ahead, some behind. They are searching rather than tracking now. They have lost clear direction. They are guessing. The swamp teaches patience through its very nature, and I obey the lesson. Everything here is slow. Water moves slowly. Trees grow slowly. Decay happens slowly. The swamp has no use for rushing, no tolerance for force. I must become like the swamp. Slow, patient, present. When they shout to regroup, I move again. Slower than before, but more deliberately. Where are you? Over here? No, this way. Their shouting tells me exactly where they are. Tells me which directions to avoid. Tells me where the gaps in their coverage exist. I move through a gap, silent, low, choosing each placement of each foot to avoid sound. One man slips and curses within the first hour, his voice sharp with pain and embarrassment. I hear the splash, the cursi, the sounds of someone struggling to regain footing in slippery mud. I mark this as weakness, not moral weakness, but physical vulnerability that will compound over hours. A slip means fatigue, means attention divided, means injury possible. Each slip makes the next slip more likely. Each moment of lost balance makes maintaining balance harder. The sound triggers a flicker of memory, childhood laughter during hunts across flooded land near my village. I remember being young, being with other boys, hunting small game in wetlands during rainy season, the laughter when someone slipped, the playful mockery, the joy of being young and free and learning together. The memory is brief, painful in its sweetness. I push it aside and focus on the present. I choose a narrow passage through reeds, barely wide enough for my body to pass. The reeds are tall, dense. They close behind me as I move through them, erasing evidence of my passage. They make sound when pushed a rustling whisper, but the sound is quiet, natural. It could be wind or animals or water moving. The hunt crosses its first invisible line as I disappear into the reeds. The line between their certainty and their doubt, between their control and their confusion, between their hunt and my survival. Water reaches my waist as I wade deeper, cold and steady against my skin. The cold is shocking at first, then numbing, then just present. a fact of this situation that must be endured. The feeling of water surrounding me unlocks something in memory elders' teaching, that water hides truth better than speed ever could. I remember lessons from my village, not specific words, just the sense of being taught, the sense of knowledge being passed, the understanding that water's ally to those who respect it. Water erases footprints. Water confuses scent. Water slows pursuers more than pursued. If the pursued knows how to move through it efficiently, I stop leaving a trail meant for eyes and focus on moving through water without creating disturbance. I do not splash. I do not break the surface tension dramatically. I move smoothly. Let my body displace water gradually. Let ripples fade before moving again. I let stillness work for me, becoming part of the swamp rather than an intruder in it. The white man thinks stillness means surrender. He is wrong. Stillness means becoming invisible, becoming part of the landscape, becoming something that cannot be found because it cannot be distinguished from its surroundings. My hand finds the bronze weight in my pocket. It is still there, even underwater, even in cold that numbs my fingers. The weight remains solid, real, a piece of certainty in uncertain circumstances. I hear the dogs circle back on themselves, confused by overlapping scent and water that destroys their tracking ability. Their baying has changed completely now, no longer purposeful, no longer directed, just noise expressing frustration. I remember how hunters back home would wait in position while prey panicked and exhausted itself. The patience of the hunter, the stillness of the ambush, letting the prey come to you rather than chasing, letting exhaustion do the work that speed cannot. I am both hunter and prey now, hunted by men, but hunting their mistakes, fleeing from them, but drawing them into traps they do not recognize. I press my body into the exposed roots of a cypress and breathe with the rhythm of the swamp slow, deep, patient. The roots create a small hollow, a space where I can wedge myself partially out of the water, where I can rest while remaining hidden, where I can wait while they search. Time bends in my favor as minutes stretch, and the searching becomes more desperate, more random, more exhausted. Each minute they search without finding me is a minute of wasted energy, wasted hope, wasted certainty. Each minute I rest is a minute of recovered strength, recovered clarity, recovered advantage. I do not forget. I never forget. Not their voices, not their positions, not the sounds that tell me where they are and where they are not the gaps in their coverage that I can exploit. The men argue now after 2 hours in the swamp, their voices cracking with fatigue and frustration. We should spread out more. We'll lose each other if we spread out. We already lost him. He can't have gotten far. Then, where is he? I observe fear seeping into command, replacing confidence with doubt, replacing certainty with questions. They are no longer commanding each other. They are asking each other, questioning each other, doubting each other. Memory sharpens in my mind. Never chase. Always invite. Let the prey come to you. My father taught me this. Not explicitly about hunting humans, about hunting animals. But the principle applies. Chasing exhausts the hunter. Inviting conserves energy. Creating circumstances where prey comes to you is more efficient than pursuing prey that flees. I throw a stone far to the right, creating sound in a direction I am not moving, and slip left through shallow water. The stone lands with a splash, 50 feet away from me, in the opposite direction from where I am actually going. Immediately, voices react. There! That way! I heard him! They move toward the sound, away from me. I move away from them, silent, low, using their distraction. A gunshot breaks the canopy suddenly, wild and useless, the sound echoing across water and trees. The shot is not aimed at anything. It is frustration made violent. Fear. Maji loud. A handler shooting at shadows or shooting at nothing, or shooting just to feel like he is doing something. I feel the swamp answer with deeper silence after the echo fades, as if the land itself is offended by the violence. Everything goes quiet. Birds stop calling. Insects pause. Even the water seems still. Then, slowly, gradually, the natural sounds resume. But changed, more cautious, more aware of danger. I recall learning how fear makes men loud when they should be quiet, makes them shoot when they should wait. My uncle taught me about control, about precision, about doing exactly what is needed and nothing more. The loudest hammer is not the best hammer, he said. The best hammer strikes exactly hard enough and no harder. These men are striking wildly, wasting ammunition, wasting energy, announcing their fear to everything that listens. I advance unseen toward higher ground that I know exists on the far side of this flooded area. Not running, not rushing, just moving steadily toward terrain that'll give me advantage. Toward solid ground where I can move faster. Toward the edge of the swamp where I can disappear into forest. I glimpsed one hunter alone after 3 hours, separated from his group, chest heaving with exhaustion. He is young, maybe 20. His face is red. His breathing is labored. His eyes search frantically for something, his companions, me, a way out. I observe his eyes searching for certainty he cannot find in this place where everything looks the same. He is lost, physically lost in the swamp, emotionally lost in fear, strategically lost in a hunt that has become chaos. The memory warns me against mercy without strategy, reminds me that helping my enemy serves only my enemy. For a moment I consider revealing myself, helping him find his way back to the others, showing mercy to someone who is suffering. But mercy without strategy is suicide. He would capture me if he could, would return me to bondage if given the chance. His suffering does not change, that he is my enemy. I vanish again into deeper water, leaving him unsure he ever saw me at all. I move before he can process what he saw, before he can shout, before he can raise his weapon. I drop below the water surface briefly. I move behind a cypress. I create space and shadow between us. When I look back, he is turning in circles, calling out weakly, unsure if he saw a person or a shadow or his own exhausted imagination. That is when I know the hunt has reversed completely. They are no longer hunting me. They are surviving the swamp. They are trying not to get lost. They are trying to find each other. They are trying to make it out alive, and I am moving freely through terrain they fear, using knowledge they do not have, becoming what they sought to capture but could not comprehend. Someone who knows this land better than they know their own certainty. The dogs whine instead of bark now after 4 hours in the swamp, their sounds expressing exhaustion and confusion rather than hunting drive. The change is complete. Earlier they bayed with confidence, with aggression, with certainty that they were closing on prey. Now they whine, high-pitched sounds of distress, of animals pushed past their capacity, of creatures that want to stop but are being forced to continue. I remember how animals sense confusion before men do, how they react to danger humans are too proud to acknowledge. In my village, we watched animals for warnings. When birds went silent, danger was near. When dogs refused to enter an area, we respected their instinct. When horses balked, we checked the ground. Animals are honest about fear. Humans lie to themselves about it. These dogs know the hunt has failed. They know they are lost. They know they are in danger. But their handlers will not listen, will not accept what the animals are trying to communicate. I cross water again, careful not to rush, using the sound of the whining dogs to mask my movement. Every time a dog whines, I take 3 steps. Every time a handler curses, I change position. Every time voices call to each other, I use the sound to cover my own presence. The swamp rewrites the hunt with every passing hour, transforming their advantages into liabilities. Their numbers become weakness to many people to coordinate. Their dogs become burden animals that need management rather than providing help. Their confidence becomes blindness certainty that prevents them from seeing reality. And I become what the swamp needs me to be. Quiet, patient, present, moving with the land instead of against it. Shouts turn into names being called, then into silence as the afternoon deepens toward evening. Jackson! Where are you, Miller? Answer me! Anybody hear me? The shouts are desperate now. Frightened, they are not looking for me anymore. They are looking for each other. Then the calls fade. Silence settles. Not peaceful silence. Fearful silence. The silence of men who have stopped shouting, because shouting revealed how alone they are. I observe how isolation replaces strengths as their group fragments across the swamp. 10 men entered as a unit. Now they are scattered, separated, each one alone, or in small groups, each one uncertain where the others are, each one afraid. Isolation is their nightmare. It is my advantage. Alone, they are weak. Together, they were merely ineffective. I move only when the swamp allows it, respecting the land's rhythm rather than imposing my own. I wait when waters to open. When movement would create visible ripples, I move when wind stirs the reeds, when my passage can blend with natural movement. I pause when birds call, warning. When some disturbance has made the swamp alert, the land tells me when to move and when to be still. I listen. Night approaches without warning. As the green dimness becomes gray, dimness becomes darkness. In the swamp, transition from day to night is subtle. The canopy blocks so much light during the day that full darkness is just a deepening of existing shadow. But the psychological effect on the hunters is dramatic. I hear it in their voices when they realize night is coming. We need to get out before dark. Which way is out? Does anybody know where we are? Panic edges into the questions. Night in an unfamiliar swamp is terror for men who do not know this place. For me, night is advantage. Night deepens every confusion they already feel. Night makes their disadvantages absolute. The men retreat toward each other as darkness completes. Afraid of being alone in the swamp at night, I hear them calling. Converging, finding each other through sound. Clustering together for psychological comfort that provides no practical safety. I remember the lesson fully now. Land chooses those who listen to it, who respect it, who work with it instead of against it. The lesson comes complete, not just fragments, not just instinct, but full memory of my father teaching me about hunting in wetlands. Land is not neutral, he said. Land favors those who understand it. The hunter who fights the land will fail. The hunter who becomes part of the land will succeed. I have become part of this swamp. I have listened to it. I have moved with its rhythm. I have respected its dangers and used its protections. They have fought it, forced themselves through it, refused to acknowledge its reality, treated it as obstacle rather than as living thing with its own nature. The land has chosen, and I am still free. I position myself beyond their reach on solid ground at the edge of the flooded area. Listening to them huddle together in fear, they are perhaps 200 yards from me, close enough that I can hear their voices, far enough that I am invisible in darkness, safe in position they cannot reach without crossing terrain they now fear. The balance has shifted completely from their hunt to my escape. Darkness settles fully, and the swamp belongs to me now in ways it never belonged to them. I can move here. I know where solid ground exists. I know which sounds are dangerous and which are normal. I know how to navigate by feel and memory and the subtle differences in how water sounds at different depths. They are trapped. Not physically they could move, but psychologically they are too afraid to move in darkness through terrain they do not understand. I observe their fear in every cautious step when they do try to move, in every whispered consultation, in every decision to stay still rather than risk moving wrong. Fear has them now. Complete. Paralyzing. The same fear they intended to inspire in me has consumed them instead. I move past them without sound, circling their position at a distance they cannot detect. I am not fleeing anymore. I am navigating, moving with purpose toward the far edge of the swamp, where solid ground, ridges and forests begins, where I can move faster, where I can put real distance between myself and anyone who might still follow. They never look behind them as I pass. They face inward toward their small group, toward each other, toward the illusion of safety in numbers. Behind them, invisible in darkness, I move freely. The white man thinks forward is the only direction that matters. Ray is wrong. Behind and beside and above and below all matter equally to someone who understands terrain. One dog breaks free and runs the wrong way during the night, its lead slipping from a handler's exhausted grip. I hear the handler curse, hear the dog crashing through undergrowth, hear other handlers yelling conflicting instructions. Grab it! Let it go! We need those dogs! It's heading back to Ward. I remember elders saying, confusion spreads faster than truth. That panic is contagious, while calm must be taught. The dog's flight triggers, panic, and the other dogs, they pull against their leads. They whine louder. They want to flee too, want to escape this place, want to return to familiar ground. The handlers struggle to maintain control. Their exhaustion makes them slow. Uncertain, their grip weakens. Their authority over the animals dissolves. I stay still behind a cypress until the chaos passes, not moving while attention is scattered. Movement now would be detected. Sound would carry. My position would be revealed, so I remain motionless, patient, letting their chaos work in my favor without exploiting it prematurely. The hunt fractures further as men chase the escaped dog in wrong directions. As coordination collapses entirely, 2 handlers go after the dog. 3 stay with the remaining dogs. The group divides. Communication breaks down. No one is certain what anyone else is doing. This is the end of the hunt. Not because I have escaped I'm still within a mile of them, but because they have lost the capacity to hunt, lost organization, lost will, lost everything except fear and exhaustion. I hear prayers whispered during the darkest hours before dawn, no longer commands but pleas. Lord, guide us out of here. Please let there be light soon. Help us find the way. The prayers are quiet, ashamed as if the men do not want each other to hear that they have been reduced to begging divine intervention. I observe belief collapsing under uncertainty. Watch men who entered with confidence exit with humility. They did not possess hours ago. They believed in their power, their authority, their right to hunt human beings with dogs and guns and certainty. Now they believe in nothing except their need for survival. For rescue from circumstances, their own choices created. I use water one last time to erase myself, crossing through a final flooded area that will destroy any remaining scent trail. The water is deeper here, colder. I wade through chest-deep pools, moving carefully to avoid making sound, letting the water do what water does: erase evidence, confuse tracking, make pursuit impossible. When I emerge on the far side, I am clean of scent, clean of trail, clean of any evidence that can be followed. The swamp closes behind me like a door shutting, sealing them inside while releasing me beyond. Morning light reveals nothing they can follow when dawn finally arrives. I am 3 miles from where I entered the swamp, on solid ground, in forest that allows fast movement. Beyond their reach, even if they recovered enough to resume searching, I remember leaving tracks only when I wanted to be found. Only when drawing them deeper served my purpose. Every obvious footprint was choice. Every broken branch was intention. Every clear sign was strategy. I controlled what they followed. I chose where they went. I led them into terrain that defeated them while appearing to flee in panic. The white man thinks tracks are evidence of flight. He is wrong. Tracks are communication, and I spoke to them in a language they thought they understood but actually did not. I walk on firm ground now, while they search shadows and memories and try to reconstruct what happened. They will tell themselves stories later, stories that preserve their dignity, stories that explain failure without admitting fault. They will say the swamp was impossible to search, that I got lucky, that conditions were against them, that no one could have caught me in that terrain. All true, but missing the essential truth. I knew the swamp. They did not. I respected it. They did not. I became part of it. They remained invaders. The land chose, and I am still here. I reached the far edge of the wetlands by mid-morning, emerging from swamp into pine forest where walking is easy. The transition is dramatic. From difficult terrain where every step requires thought to open forest, where I can move freely, from water and mud to pine needles and solid earth, from green dimness to dappled sunlight. I observe how quiet victory feels heavier than noise, more permanent than celebration. There is no triumph in my chest, no joy, just the weight of having survived, the knowledge of what was risked. The understanding that freedom is not won but maintained through constant vigilance. Victory is not a moment. Victory is continuation. I am still moving, still free, still carrying myself forward. Memory reminds me survival carries a cost, even when survival is successful. I have survived, but I am changed. The hunt has marked me. The swamp has taught me. The experience has added weight to what I carry. I do not look back toward the swamp. Looking back serves no purpose. The past is there. The future is ahead. My attention belongs to the next step, not the last one. My hand finds the bronze weight in my pocket. It is still there, wet, covered in swamp water and mud, but solid, real, unchanged in its essential nature, despite everything it has been through with me. The dogs fall silent in the distance by afternoon, their bells no longer ringing, their voices no longer carrying through the trees. They have stopped searching, stopped pursuing, stopped trying to track what cannot be tracked anymore. I remember the first hunt I watched as a boy in my village, when patience won over speed, when the hunter who waited outlasted the hunter who chased. The memory is clear now, complete. I was 6 years old. 2 hunters went after the same antelope. One chased immediately, running hard, trying to close distance quickly. The other followed slowly, steadily, maintaining pressure but conserving energy. The chaser exhausted himself, lost the trail, returned, empty-handed. The patient hunter found the antelope collapse from exhaustion hours later, brought it home, fed his family. The hunt is won before it begins. My father told me after, won by the hunter who understands endurance matters more than speed. I understood then. I understand now. The same principle that won hunts in my village won my freedom in this swamp. I keep moving north, following the star patterns I learned as a child, following the moss that grows thicker on the north side of trees, following instinct and knowledge towards something I can only call away. Away from bondage, away from the plantation, away from the men who believed they owned me. Toward what? I do not know yet. But toward is enough. Toward is purpose. Toward is freedom in motion. The land releases me as I leave the swamp region entirely and enter drier forest, where travel is faster. I clean the mud from my hands, but not from my mind hours later when I stop to rest. The mud comes off with water from a creek, washes away to reveal skin beneath. Evidence removed. Trail erased. But the experience stays. The memories, the lessons, the knowledge of what I did and how I did it and what it cost and what it won. I observe how easily power dissolves without certainty, how confidence collapses when challenged by reality. They had all the power, all the legal authority, all the weapons, all the advantages society and law could provide, but they did not have certainty. They did not have knowledge of the land. They did not have patience or respect or understanding. And without those things, power dissolved. Authority became useless. Advantages became liabilities. I carry every lesson forward about land, about patience, about respecting what you do not control. I carry the memory of the swamp, of water and darkness, of stillness as strategy, of listening to land instead of fighting it. I carry the knowledge that I survived not through strength or speed, but through understanding, through becoming what the situation required, through working with nature instead of against it. Freedom remains unfinished. I am not Safi. I am not legally free. I am still fugitive, still hunted, still at risk. But I am moving. I am choosing. I am navigating my own path. And that choosing, however dangerous, however uncertain, is freedom in the only form available to me. In my land, this would mean I honored my ancestors by refusing to surrender, by using knowledge they gave me, by surviving through wisdom instead of force. I stop only when the swamp is far behind me, when miles separate me from the hunt, when exhaustion demands rest. I find a hollow beneath a fallen tree, hidden, dry, defensible. I curl into it and allow my body to rest, while my mind stays alert. I remember who I was before. Chains taught me fear a child in a village, free and whole, learning crafts and hunts, and the knowledge of elders. That child still exists inside me. survived the ships, survived the markets, survived the fields, survived the swamp. That child's knowledge saved my life today. That child's memories of hunting and patience and respect for land gave me tools a man hunting me did not possess. I am not just the enslaved man they try to recapture. I am also the free child I was before. And that child's knowledge belongs to me, regardless of what legal documents say about my status. I move on with knowledge, instead of speed when my rest is finished. Navigating carefully toward a north I can feel more than see. Knowledge tells me which plants are edible, which water is safe, which ground is stable, which direction offers best chance of survival. Speed would be reckless, would create trail, would exhaust me, would make mistakes likely. Knowledge allows sustainability, allows me to move indefinitely, allows me to survive not just today, but tomorrow and the day after. And the hunt ends without a body, without a victory except mine. They will return to the plantation. They will report failure. They will explain that the swamp was too difficult, that I got lucky, that circumstances prevented success. They will not admit I outsmarted them, will not acknowledge I used knowledge they lacked, will not confess that the land chose me over them, but the truth remains regardless of what they admit. I am free of them, not free in law, not free in society, but free in the only way that matters. Right now free of their immediate control. Free to move, free to choose. And that freedom, however temporary, however fragile, is victory. I do not forget. I never forget. Not the bells of the dogs, not the voices of the men, not the moment I understood the hunt had reversed, not the lessons the swamp taught me about patience and stillness and respect. I carry it all forward, into whatever comes next, into the uncertain future, into the continuing struggle to transform this temporary freedom into something more permanent. The white man thinks the hunt is over when the prey escapes. He is wrong. The hunt is never over for people like me. It continues in different forms, with different hunters, across different terrain. But today, in this swamp, with these men, the hunt ended with me free and them defeated. And that is testimony worth speaking. That is truth worth preserving. That is knowledge worth carrying forward. I survived by becoming what the swamp needed: patient, quiet, respectful, present, and I will survive what comes next by becoming what that situation needs. Not through force, through knowledge, through understanding, through respecting the land and the lessons it teaches. My hand finds the bronze weight in my pocket one last time. It is still there, cleaned of mud now, dry, heavy, with meaning accumulated across continents and years and struggles. It reminds me, I carry more than my own life. I carry the knowledge of my uncle who made it, the memory of my village where I learned to hunt, the wisdom of elders who taught me patience. I carry all of that forward into freedom that is unfinished but real, into survival that continues, into testimony that refuses to be silenced. The hunt has ended, the journey continues, and I am still here.